gotten lonelier, and it had lost the meaning it once had. And on top of everything else, her body was going through months of sexual withdrawal, and even the mere mention of Rory's name got her panties wet. I know I screwed up with Rory, and I regret everything I said. That's why I'm placing him on my wish list. Lisa lifted a brow as she turned away from the computer and the PowerPoint document she'd been working on. What wish list? It's a list of the things I want, and Rory is at the top of the list. In fact, he's the only thing on the list, which means I'm going to have to think of a plan to get him back. Well, good luck on that one. The last few times he was over to our place, he didn't even ask about you. In fact, he hasn't in quite a while, and like I told you, according to Peyton, he's seeing some woman who works for Cochrane Enterprises. And although I haven't met her yet, Peyton has, and he said she's a cutie, so it seems your loss was her gain. Kat frowned. Do you have to rub it in? It serves you right for letting a good man get away. I tried to warn you, but you wouldn't listen. You were in love with him, Kat. That much was obvious. But you had to have things your way or no way. You hurt him deeply, and some men can be unforgiving about things like that. Peyton would be, and the reason they're best friends is because they usually act and think alike. Lisa then glanced at her watch. And speaking of Peyton, let's finish up here so I can leave within the next 20 minutes. He's picking me up, and we're going to Mango's for dinner. I will get Rory back, Lisa. Lisa gave her a doubtful look. You're welcome to try. I'll do more than try. I'll succeed. Good luck, because after the way you dumped him, you're definitely going to need all the luck you can get. Rory Dawkins had heard enough. He stepped back from the door and quickly left the reception area to head out of the building. His best friend had asked him to come inside to let his wife know he'd arrived a little early and was outside circling the block. They had tried reaching Lisa on her cell phone, but discovered she didn't have it on, and her office number had defaulted to voicemail. At first, Rory had hesitated, knowing there was a strong chance he would run into the one woman he had never stopped loving. But he was determined to face Kat and pretend he was over her, just as he'd assumed she was over him. Evidently, that had been a false assumption. He had overheard Kat and Lisa's entire conversation. Once Kat had declared she needed a man, his ears had perked up, and he decided to listen. Shamelessly so. And he was glad that he had. Now he was torn between laughing and punching a hole in the nearest wall. So, the woman who had kicked him to the curb because he was becoming too habit-forming, as she'd so elegantly put it, had placed him on, of all things, her wish list. And she intended to try to get him back? Hell, he agreed with Lisa. Let her try. He would love for her to try to get him back. He had wondered how long it would take for Kat to wake up and finally realize that the two of them belonged together. But now that she'd come to that conclusion, did she think she could just waltz back into his life? He needed to show the spirited, successful, and sexy Cat McAlister a thing or two about men. Nobody liked being dropped like a hot potato and then picked up later like a hot fudge sundae. He might be on Kat's wish list, but he couldn't forget that this same time last year he'd been on her ditch list. And for that very reason, he was determined to prove to her, once and for all, that mega success was nothing without, what was the phrase Lisa had used? Oh yeah, extreme satisfaction. Kat definitely had a lesson coming, and he would enjoy being the one to teach it. And it would be a while before he told her that he hadn't been involved with a woman at Cochrane Enterprises. It was a story that he and Peyton had fabricated for Lisa's benefit, since they knew she would occasionally try pumping him for information to feed to Kat regarding his love life, or lack of one. He and Peyton had agreed it was better for Kat to believe he had moved on with his life and was not somewhere pining over her, as he'd actually been doing. A man did have his pride, after all.